has become boring a little bit because it is too predictable. All the brands are just doing the same thing, doing the same nostalgic tactic, and you know what, guys? Why do we have to keep traveling back to the past? Can we just look to the future for once? Because I think there's something so beautiful about being in the moment. And we're constantly feeling like it was better back in the day, but it wasn't always, you guys. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Jess. So I wanted to talk about the topic of, has luxury YouTube become boring? Has fashion become boring? And I watched Amelia Rose's video about this yesterday, so shout out to Amelia. I thought that this topic was very interesting and I wanted to share my personal perspective of it. I think the big reason why fashion has become a little bit boring for myself is, well, I've just noticed a lot of brands at the moment are referencing a time period between around 2003 to around 2008. And I know that fashion is cyclical, but I think the reason why a lot of brands are focusing on this particular period is because they know that we are suckers for nostalgia. And at the moment in this day and age, I know that times have always been tough in some sort of way, but I think that a lot of people are losing hope these days, maybe in their jobs or I don't know, for whatever reason. There's a lot of things happening in the world right now that are making people stressed out. I've had a lot of friends who have changed jobs so many times now, and it's just so different to like 10, 20 years ago where you could just have a job and keep it for the rest of your life. For myself, I've even had to change jobs a few times over the years. And there's a lot of uncertainty and yeah, I don't know, it just seems like the future is unhopeful. I don't know why there's that energy in the air. I don't like to really think like that myself, but I think a lot of us are, feeling stressed. Maybe we're also overstimulated by social media. We're always connected to our phones. And maybe we're trying to escape back to a period like in the 2000s, maybe where social media wasn't as prevalent. Maybe we missed the days where fashion was a little bit more over the top. Maybe we missed the days where, I don't know, we felt more hopeful about life. And I don't know, guys, but for some reason the 2000s, I don't know. I remember, Paris Hilton. I remember celebrities wearing Birkins. I remember, just being into different TV shows. I was obviously a kid, so the world was my oyster back then. And a lot of us who are now, 30 or older, perhaps sometimes yearn for our childhood, right? So now the bags that were coming out when we were younger, whether you were, 10 years old or you're a teenager or just coming out of high school, are now coming back in fashion. And that includes the Louis Vuitton multicolor collection, or the Takashi Murakami collection, which originally came out, I think, around 2003 and went on for over 10 years. This is a collection that created such a huge buzz on social media now that it's been reissued. So many people were disappointed they couldn't get their hands on things, and it was just so overhyped, it was insane. And I think a lot of the reason why it was so popular this year is because of the nostalgia behind it. A lot of us love the feeling like we're going back to a time where, I don't know, we were more inspired by things or things were more hopeful. So I think a lot of people look at the Murakami collection and it brings them joy, and maybe subconsciously it also makes them feel like they're going back to a different time. And you might not be aware of this yourself, but I know for me, like, there was a period where I was collecting Lisa Frank stationery. I know I always bring this up. This was about 10 years ago, in my early 20s. And Lisa Frank stationery, again, it was very popular in like the 90s. And I started collecting it as a source of comfort and nostalgia. And I kind of felt like when I would find like a special pen that had dolphins on it, it reminded me of being a little girl again. And I don't know why I was trying to escape back to my childhood. Maybe something probably had happened to me that was quite stressful in my adult life that I was just trying to deal with my emotions, and maybe that's why I resorted to collecting stationery. I think a lot of us resort to collecting things as a source of comfort, and it's the same with fashion. So the reason why the Murakami collection was so impactful is because it had a huge nostalgic appeal, and it is an easy way of marketing. It's an easy way to get people to buy your collection if there's some sort of nostalgia connected to it. It's the same with the Fendi Spy bag. Fendi have now chosen to introduce that bag back again this year because, well, yes, it is extremely nostalgic, and there are going to be people who remember that time when the Fendi Spy was an it bag and want to go back to that time period. With Dior, their recent runway show, they had the Dior tank top strutting down the runway. This brings us back to a time where Jean Galliano was the designer of Dior, and perhaps a lot of us was just getting into fashion, and we'd watch those fashion shows and be like extremely inspired, and we want to go back to that time, right? So we want to buy that tank top. But yeah, guys, at the end of the day, it's just a tank top that says Dior, but because it's nostalgic, of course it's going to be a sellout. And we've also got the JPG Birkin from Hermes now being reissued. That bag came out in 2004. I remember seeing Victoria Beckham wearing that in the 2000s and thinking, wow, that looks really cool. And it really brings me back to a time where Birkins were becoming super hyped. And you saw every celebrity with a Birkin. And yeah, it wasn't as mainstream back then as to what it was now, but maybe back then it was simpler times, right? And a part of us wants to go back to that feeling. You'll notice it in so many brands, even Chanel bringing back their big Chanel Kelly bag that was very popular in the early 2000s. At the Persever at the moment, we have one in pink, which is really cute. I think that one's from around 2004. But yes, they are reissuing that bag back this season. So anything from like, yeah, as I said, 2003 to 2008 is back in fashion, you guys, because for some reason, fashion wants us to travel back to that time period, and they know that we're going to buy it because a part of our brain wants to go back to that time period. I don't know why, guys, and let me know if these new reissued bags are like enticing you to buy them because you missed that era. Even Chloe, I watched yesterday, reissuing the Chloe Paddington bag. That bag was so out of fashion a few years ago, and you wouldn't have thought they would reissue it. But because all the other brands are doing the same time period, yes, Chloe is also bringing it back. If you think of any designer brand, what was their it bag in that time period, I can guarantee you this year they're bringing it back. It's just like, it's almost too predictable. And that's where I get to my final point, guys. Fashion has become boring a little bit because it is too predictable. All the brands are just doing the same thing, doing the same nostalgic tactic. And you know what, guys? Why do we have to keep traveling back to the past? Can we just look to the future for once? Because I think there's something so beautiful about being in the moment. And we're constantly feeling like it was better back in the day, but it wasn't always, you guys. There's something, you know, we have to have hope for the future. We have to have hope for now. And I am a little bit bored by fashion, to be honest. As much as I love nostalgia and as much as I get sucked into it, right? I do feel like I want to see something that is very innovative of the now. I want there to be like a moment of the now. I see kids these days dressing up like Britney Spears and making it out that they just invented that fashion, but yeah, and I'm sure it was similar back, 20 years ago where I was wearing something that my parents used to wear. But yeah, I just feel like it's getting a bit boring, right, with fashion. Like there needs to be something that is defining this era. But really, we can't be going back to the 2000s, guys. Like there was a lot about that time that was very ugly, the fashion as well. Low-rise jeans, belly button piercings. Do we have to do that again, guys? I'm not saying anything if you're into that stuff, but you know what I'm saying, guys? Like, it's getting a little bit too predictable. There has to be something that sets us into a direction that is, setting us into a new future. Something that, I don't know, like, is easier to wear. I literally can't explain it, you guys, because where do brands go from here? Okay, Louis Vuitton has brought back their Murakami collection. After all is said and done, the hype is down. What are they going to do from there? Just emphasize on exotics and P9 Speedies, because I can tell you guys, most people are not going to be able to afford or want to buy that. So, like, where are they going to go from the Murakami, like, relaunch? Like, they have to think of something new and cool. And I don't know if Pharrell can do that for Louis Vuitton, to be honest. Can Nicolas Ghesquière do that? Maybe. I don't know, guys. But yeah, at the moment, a part of me is a little bit bored of fashion just because it's become very predictable. And yeah, a part of me also does get sucked into the nostalgia, and a part of me does want to hunt down the original versions of some of these iconic bags. But then at the same time, I'm like, what am I doing? I should just enjoy today. And I think a lot of people are also feeling the same. We should enjoy our stuff of today and stop buying stuff just because it's in fashion, because what's trending on the internet is not always trending in your real life, right? So we don't have to go back to the 2000s if we don't want to. We should just be able to stay in this era. that being said, I'm always trying to travel back to my childhood. I'm a huge sucker for Jellycat and Labubu, and that does make me feel like a little kid again, and I don't really want to lose that in myself, that childlike nature. But at the same time, I do want to kind of evolve as well, right? So anyways, that's my thoughts on that. But what do you think? Do you think fashion is getting boring? Is it getting a little bit too predictable? And is there any new bags from these brands like the Chloe Paddington that you think you're going to be tempted to buy? And thanks for listening to my blurby video today, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys really soon. Bye!